You're tuned to WKRK 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25, and worldwide at country.am. It's a Friday. It's 11:05. That means Sheriff Palmer is with us here in the studio. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well for this cold weather that's
Welcome
outside.
back.
How come every time we meet it's cold weather outside?
I don't know. It's kind of it's getting that crazy time of year.
It is.
And I was noticing that things were turning green outside. Then all of a sudden we're getting cold again. I was like, wait, is this spring? My grass is turning green again.
I think everything's confused.
Yeah, it's been a confusing time. We'll see highs up in the 60s and 70s,
Right.
and then here we are with a high around 40 today. So
Looks like it's going to be that way for the next few days, too.
so people who really, really like winter are going to enjoy the next few days.
I like winter when it snows and when you can get out and play in it and those kind of things. But when it's not snowing, I just send it be warm.
That's right. You went sledding recently, didn't you? Had fun.
I did. Had a good time. And I was sharing with Tim before we went on the air that I'm in my mid-40s now, and sometimes things hurt that didn't used to hurt, and sometimes things ache that didn't used to ache, and and all those kind of things. And my wife's been after me about getting scheduled the doctor's appointment, getting a checkup, and I think I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to get to do my stuff you're supposed to do in your mid-40s.
We're getting on up there, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
For some reason the other day, because I'll have a birthday coming up too, and I thought, well, let me just do a Google search and find out what middle age is. Middle age starts at 45, according to Google.
Right.
45, and I forget the top age. Was it 65
Something
maybe?
like that. Yeah.
But I thought, I'm 1 year away from middle age.
Well, I've got to the place too that when I'm reading something with fine print, I have to extend my arm out and get that sweet spot, to where I can read it.
Yes.
And I think it's time I make several appointments.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and taking the reading glasses off to dry. But,
Right.
And then I'll be putting glasses up, and I go, I can only reach this high now.
But I guess those aches and pains and stuff are better than the alternative.
Yes,
absolutely. The alternative is not to have them anymore, and you know what that means. So I guess I'll take my aches and pains and grow old gracefully.
Yes. Right. You've had a pretty busy week at the sheriff's office.
It's been very busy. A big headline of the week was the 5 suspects from Atlanta that we arrested on robbery with a dangerous weapon and those type of things up in the Upper Andrews area. A lot of people's asking, specifics about that, and we still can't release a whole lot of specifics because it's still an ongoing investigation. But it happened there north of east of Andrews, I guess, in the Junaluska area, and so we had a report of some persons up there and some possible shots fired and things of that nature, and them fleeing a scene. And by the time the officers were fairly close, and they were responding up Junaluska when the call came out, and the suspects that fled, when the officers got there, found them on the road with a disabled vehicle. We're still investigating that as to what disabled the vehicle. Initial belief was that they hit something on the way out that punctured the tire and flattened it, but we're still looking into that to find out what the exact cause of that was. But when the officers got there were 2 subjects that fled on foot, 3 that stayed in the car, and they were Andrews Police Department come up and helped us, and so we were able to get all 5 of those people arrested fairly quickly and find out what's going on. The officers went on up to the house after that, where the original report came from, and found a person up there that had been assaulted, and apparently was assaulted, and some items were taken from his residence. So it all worked out good, and got them all arrested without any incident. So we're glad that happened that way. But it's something that we need to be aware of for our area. And the paper quoted me with some kind of quote. I can't remember exactly what it said, but about the Cherokee County being Mayberry anymore, and we're definitely not. We're not in that place. And with the high traffic volumes that we're seeing with people coming into the area that's from especially the Atlanta area and the Tennessee area and Alabama, we get a lot of those folks, and even South Carolina coming through Murphy now. Our officers more and more are not knowing who they're dealing with. When I started 20 years ago, we got a call to go to a residence here in Cherokee County pretty much when you went to that call, you kind of knew who you're going to deal with and who the kind of how they were going to react and those type of things. I mean, there's always that unknown, but you had a general idea of kind of what was about to happen. But with this day and time, when officers respond, most of the time, the people they respond to, they don't know them. They've not dealt with them. They don't know what they're going to face when they get there. And so that causes us to step up our game and do more and more training.
Right.
And one of the trainings that we've got coming up that we had talked about this week, and this report of these guys from Atlanta was a good segue into what the training we were getting ready to do was about gang training and about gang recognition. Years ago, probably it's been, probably 7 or 8 years ago now, I guess, I was working under a grant for the sheriff's office where I was a gang investigator investigating gang activity in the area. And back then, people were saying, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. We don't have a problem here. We don't have gangs here. We don't have all that. Why are you wasting your time?" At the time, I was talking to people from Atlanta and Cleveland and Charlotte and other places, Asheville, and telling them what I was seeing here. And they were saying, you're about 10 years out from starting to see a gang presence and starting to have gang issues in your area. Well, we're here about 8 years away from that when they told me that, 7 to 8 years, and we're starting to see that come into fruition of dealing with people from that we normally don't deal with that do have gang affiliations and gang ties. So one of the things this training does is help us recognize tattoos, clothing, those type of things that most people pass by on a daily basis and may see something strange but don't understand what it means or what it signifies. And so one of the things when I was doing that and looking at things in Cherokee County, we saw a lot of folk nation kind of stuff. And for those that may not know about it, I mean, you can Google search and learn about this, but there's basically 2 different divisions. There's a folk nation and people nation. And when you think about it, it's kind of like football teams. It's kind of like the AFC and the NFC, And under folk and under people, they have individual gangs that identify with those groups. So when you think about the folk and people nations being like the AFC and the NFC, then you have the gangs under them are kind of like the individual teams for those divisions. So that's kind of the best analogy that I can put to it so people can understand the way it works. So even though you may be folk nation, you may be Crips or Disciples or whatever under that, Latin Kings or whatever, but you're under that folk nation side of it. Under the people nation, you could be like Bloods and those type of things, that are under that people nation side. So it's important for us to recognize that for a lot of different reasons. One is not just officer safety, for officers dealing with these people, but also for housing issues, for people that you arrest and put in jail. By recognizing tattoos and recognizing these signs of who they're affiliated with, it helps us when we put people in the pods in the jail as far as not putting rival people together in the same pod. So we can actually separate those out and put them in different places. So there's a lot of benefit to the training. And it's a lot of benefit to us as officers as we're dealing with people that even though they may deny having gang affiliation, we can tell by the way they're dressed, the colors they're wearing, what side, the bandana pockets are hanging out of, or which pants leg is rolled up, or, a lot of different things you can tell by their affiliations and who they identify with. And so that really helps us because some gangs are more violent as far as doing frauds and those type of things. Some are more violent in areas of drug activity and transporting and hauling drugs. So even when you know the type of gang you're dealing with, you kind of know whether this is a type of affiliation that runs in weapons and those type of things, or this is the one that runs more in drugs. And they all overlap and they all do, various criminal activity, but they all have their identifiers as what they're usually affiliated with. So it helps that officer recognize that.
And the home invasion, that was the gang related?
Those people, I don't think the evasion itself had to do with the gang, but the people that was arrested had signs and tattoos and stuff that identified them with various gangs in the Atlanta area. And so that's what we're saying, when we're dealing with these people that we don't know, just by recognizing tattoos, even though they may request a lawyer and don't want to talk to you and don't want to give you any information, you can tell by their mugshots and their tattoos and their clothing and all those kind of things, kind of what they're affiliated with or what they claim to be.
Was their target a random target, or was that known to?
Like I say, that's still under investigation. We do know at this point they did have some local ties here to Cherokee County. we do know there are other people that were involved with this that at least met up with them earlier before all this happened. So we're still under that investigative part to find out who exactly they did know, who they met with, why they met with them, and why they went to this location. So those are all things that will be coming out later, but we're still looking into that.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. We had the awards banquet
We
last
did.
Friday. Tell us about that.
Well, what I did, this is our second annual banquet. Last January, we had decided that we wanted to take some time just to reward our officers for the outstanding work they do during the year. I'll be honest with you, this awards banquet was a little different than the year before. I wasn't as quite prepared for this because we had a lot of things going on, and with these type of things like we had just talked about happening throughout the county and investigating drugs and some other major events that happened, it left me at the point, and I was sick earlier in the week also, so it led me at the point I didn't feel as well prepared as I did last year to explain to the public a lot of the outstanding work officers had done over the years. But we did do our Investigator of the Year. We did our Officer of the Year. We had some couple special awards this year that we didn't do the year before, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But one thing I do want to say is, our officers do outstanding work each and every day. My daughter, when she graduated high school and went to college, she didn't get a whole lot of scholarships, and she didn't get a whole lot of help. But she was a straight A student her entire career, and all the way from elementary school all the way through, always made straight A's. She never had a disciplinary action in school. She was the model student. Teachers loved her, but she didn't get scholarships or didn't get anything when she got out of school. And she was in that place to where she wasn't so outstanding and so special as far as intellectually that she got all the real high achievement awards. Right. And she wasn't underprivileged or all these other things that, and had learning disabilities that got some of the other type of help to go to college. So, but she was a good student, did everything right, and didn't get help. And she asked me the question after she graduated. She said, what about of all of the hundreds of kids that come through school and even thousands across the country like me that do the right thing, that make good grades, that does good work, but doesn't get recognized for it, And that really stuck to me when she said that about all the kids that graduate do that. So I got to thinking about that with our law enforcement officers. We have law enforcement officers everywhere that do outstanding work daily. Right. They may not be a superstar. They may not have cracked that huge case that made national news, or they may not be that bad officer that gets the bad press that everybody talks about. But they come in every day. They do their job. They work hard. They're a good officer. They help the public. And I thought it important that we, as a law enforcement agency, recognize those people. Right. Recognize those people that do those good job day in and day out. And, we had one that I didn't mention at the awards banquet, but we had an officer a guy that had overdosed on heroin, and they had to Narcan him to bring him back. He was dead for all practical purposes. And after they brought him back, took him to the hospital, we had see some evidence off of him, some personal belongings, those type of things. He came back to the sheriff's office to pick those up after he got out of the hospital. And he wanted to talk for just a minute. So I went out there, and a couple of people went out there to see what he wanted. And he said, as we went out there, he said, I've got a completely different view of law enforcement than I did a week ago. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. He said, I do. He said, I want to tell you something. He said, I remember overdose and I remember passing out. He said, but I remember when I came to, there was an officer standing over me, one of your deputies that was standing over me when I came to. And he said, the thing I remember was that look of concern in his face, that he genuinely really cared about whether I lived or died, and that he was helping work with the medics and helping work on me and was doing everything he could to keep me alive. And he said, I really have a different respect and a different look for law enforcement than I did a week ago. Wow. And so when you think about those things and you think about those officers that are out there that genuinely care about people, that genuinely want to help, I think it's important that we recognize that and that we honor those people. Our Officer of the Year award this year went to J.J. Wooten, who he was an officer. He's a police officer. He came to the sheriff's office seeking a job, and upon interviewing him, I explained to him all the hard work I expected, all the things that we would require of him, and The pay wasn't that great, but these are what we're wanting to do. And he genuinely, when he came to work for me, he said, I want training. I want to learn how to do the job. I want to learn how to be the best law enforcement officer I can be. And throughout his career at the sheriff's office, he has went above and beyond to do the things that he needed to do, and he has put in extra time and extra effort and extra training just to try to be the best officer he could be. And he's one of these officers that no matter what you ask him to do, he steps up to the plate and goes out and does it without complaint, and he very rarely, if ever, I don't know that we've ever got a complaint on him from the public, about the way he talks to people or treat people. He treats everybody with respect, with dignity, and just a million things I could say about him today about what a good job he's doing. But he won our Officer of the Year award, and for our Investigator of the Year back last year, we were having some issues with our narcotics unit, even though they were doing a good job of trying to get them to work together and mesh together and work with each other and work with the other agencies and all that. So one of the things I had told them was that as a team, as a narcotics unit, it's not about any individual person. It's not about who makes the big case or the big bust. That doesn't matter because it takes everybody. Yes. It takes everybody to work together to make that big bust or that big case. And so my instruction to them last year was, as we put this thing together, you'll either win as a team or you'll lose as a team. But whatever happens, if one of you gets in trouble, everybody gets in trouble. If one of you does a good job, everybody does a good job. And you need to work together as a team. And no matter win or lose, you will win as a team or lose as a team. And so we've really watched them over this past year. And when it came time for Investigator of the Year, we had a couple of those folks that was in the top running for Investigator of the Year. And myself and the chief had sat down and discussed this. And, by telling them you win as a team, lose as a team, we decided instead of picking one of those as Investigator of the Year, we gave the entire team Investigator of the Year.
All right.
And so we gave all of them the Investigator of the Year award. And so, I think just by doing things like that, showing your appreciation and how they work together, I think it not only inspires them to be better officers and do a better job, but it also inspires those others that are watching this to be better officers and to be a better job. And maybe next year I can be Officer of the Year. Maybe next year, if I do what I need to do and treat the public with dignity, and if I do what I need to do and be a good officer and get all my reports done and do some outstanding work this year, maybe next year I can be Officer of the Year. And so we try to recognize those folks and just give them that incentive and that encouragement to do that. A couple other things we did this year that we didn't do last year. One, and we've had some people that loved it. We've had some people give us some flack over it, and it's neither here nor there. We're just there to help our officers. We're not trying to step on somebody else's toes or hurt nobody else's feelings. But we had a young man, Corey Marcus, that his mother called last year and wanted to know if there's anything that Corey could do to help with us at the sheriff's office. Corey is a very intelligent young man, and he is a very good young man. He has a couple of issues, a couple of what you might call learning disabilities or those type of things. But Corey graduated Murphy High School, and he graduated there, and he was ready to go on with life, and he loves law enforcement, wanted to be in law enforcement. Didn't know whether he could really achieve that or not, but he wanted to just see if he could do something at the sheriff's office. So we allowed him to come down last year and work in the sheriff's office as a volunteer, and he did volunteer training, completed that. He came in and he helps with our gun permit section and filing and sweeping and whatever needs to be done. Corey's there to help us with that, and Corey has really inspired a lot of people at the sheriff's office. And when Corey's not there, a lot of people ask, where's Corey today? Is Corey coming by this week, kind of thing? And he loves to ride with the officers and be out there. So this year, we awarded Corey with an award as our first ever Corey Marcus Inspiration Award. And so,
very good.
And so we just wanted to recognize him for what he contributes to our office and what our people think about him and are inspired by him. So hopefully that'll be an ongoing thing. To where when we have other volunteers and people that like to come in and maybe even those out there that have disabilities and those out there that from other walks of life that maybe are interested in law enforcement but don't know whether they could ever do that or not. maybe they could be volunteers, and maybe they could help do something to inspire us and us inspire them. And so hopefully that'll be something that continues on down the road. We went and did another special award this year, and I actually have to confess I kindly stole this idea from Abundant Life Church. I went up there on New Year's and brought a message there and worshiped with them up there, and they gave this award away for their church members. And I thought, what a great thing. I think I need to try to do that with the sheriff's office. And what it's called is a Spiritual Purple Heart Award. And what that is for is that's for people who has gotten wounded in some type of way throughout the year. It could be physically, it could be mentally, it could be spiritually, it could be just life beating you down, could be a lot of different things, but it's for people who within the office that has been wounded in some way, but yet they persevere, and yet they carry on, and yet they go above and beyond where they could have quit and where they could have given up and where they could have stopped. But yet they have faith and dedication and courage to keep on and to keep persevering and to keep going on. And this year's recipient of that was Joe Wood. And a lot of people knows the story of Joe and Hope, where Hope has been suffering for a while now with cancer. And Joe was our investigative lieutenant at the sheriff's office, and he's had to take time away from the office to take care of his wife and take care of his family. But Joe, I can look at the log on just about every day, and even from home, even there taking care of his wife, who is potentially, we don't know what the Lord has, but potentially has only a few days left or weeks left or maybe months left. But he's taking care of his wife there and doing the best he can. But every day when I look at the log on screen, I can see where Joe's logged on from home and that he's still looking at cases and monitoring things and calling in and saying, hey, have you thought about doing this on this investigation? Or and trying to still be active with the guys and be active with the sheriff's office, because he does care about the office and he does care about the community. But even in the midst of his suffering and even in the midst of the things that he's going through with his family, I wanted to give him something to show how much we appreciated him, and just give him some encouragement to keep on and to keep persevering in the midst of this tragedy that's going on in his life. So,
great idea.
Yeah, so we just did a couple of little extra things like that this year, and I think people really enjoyed that. They really appreciated that. Of course, a lot of people, when you hit Facebook, a lot of people don't really understand what you did or why you did it, so you get negative comments and you get all these different things, but that's part of it. If I had my way, I would completely disable Facebook and social media and get away with it. But it is what it is, and you have to deal with those people. And I very rarely comment on anything on Facebook that's controversial or anything. But some person that doesn't even live here made a improper comment about Joe, an improper comment about the award, and I felt the need to address that, and kind of my officer's defense about that. And it's just important to me to see the public and see how, when things like that happen, how they jump in and chime in to defend our officers and defend our office and to defend our community here. And it's just uplifting and heartwarming to see that when you have those people make those comments they shouldn't make, and those comments when they don't know what's going on, that we do. It's not just the sheriff's office, but we have the public that's stepping up and defending the sheriff's office and defending our officers. And I just think it's great. And I think that this idea, this award ceremony, is not about me. It's not about our office. It's about just encouraging our people. And it's about helping our people be the best they can be. And if our people are the best they can be, then they'll be the best they can be for our community. And so that's kind of what it was all about.
How many agencies were involved in the awards?
Well, we typically, what we try to do is we invite Murphy Police and Andrews Police and Highway Patrol to be involved in that as far as the agency involvement. But we also get RSVPs back from, our congressmen or senators or, our district attorney, some of our judges in the area. So we have a good outpouring and a good turnout from those folks from all walks, not just the law enforcement end of it, but also from the legal end. We have attorneys that show up. Defense attorneys come to this, So we have a lot of people that's involved in the judicial system, and law enforcement comes out and tries to support our officers. So that's heartwarming to see also.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, we said earlier, we do have some cold weather coming up, and We want to touch quickly on the firewood situation.
Yeah, I would always like to remember that because a lot of people forget, that during these cold snouts, we do have firewood available through the sheriff's office. If you know any seniors or people in need, that may be out of wood, that need some heat, please call and let us know. We'll try to get you some wood out there. The program is for seniors. We'll try to help anybody, but it's designated primarily for seniors. But what we also encourage people to do is first try to contact Department of Social Services because they have monies set aside for heating assistance and those type of things. And they also have vendors that gets paid through DSS to do this. And we're also on the vendor list, but we have other people in the community that actually goes through DSS, will deliver firewood to these people, but they get reimbursed to get paid for it. So we don't want to take anything away from them. So we encourage people to go through DSS first, apply for that energy assistance program. If there's a problem there, you can't get it quick enough or you don't qualify, but you still have a need or you're a senior, then call the sheriff's office and we'll try to get you what you need.
837-2589.
That is correct.
Correct?
Yeah, and that's for Captain Patterson at detention.
All right.
Okay.
Sheriff, thank you very much for being here with us. Anything else you want to mention before we sign off?
No, I think that's pretty good. We'll see you here next week.
I'll see you here. Same,
Okay.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Same bat place.
All right. It's WKRK Radio in Murphy, North Carolina, 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25. Your weather forecast next, brought to you by Carpet Mart.